Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV and the House Light Kitchen Sinks. So I go to the gas station yesterday, and I was feeling pretty good, you know. After all, my Dallas Cowboys did whoop the Pittsburgh Steelers. A whole lot of Steelers fans was on here talking this and talking that, and it's okay, I get it. It was because of the delay. I get it. I get it. I'm in a great mood, as I typically am. And as I'm going into the gas station, I see an individual. He's standing there. He's probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 feet away. And I look at him, and I didn't really think much of it or what have you. Now, before I go any further with this story, just understand that I'm the self-proclaimed Mr. 30 Minutes or Better. Meaning that anytime I drop a video or story, it's guaranteed to be 30 minutes or better. So if you're on your way to work, you're at work, you don't feel like being there, you're on your way home from work, you need to laugh, you need to cry. Maybe you're trying to lay down and take a nap, or you're trying to go to sleep at night, depending on whatever time you're viewing or listening to this video. Or perhaps you're just in the mood for a good old-fashioned true penitentiary slash life experience slash life story, but the key word being true. Is the channel for you. If you like your 8, 10, 12, 15-minute videos, absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But at Real Kens TV, it's 30 minutes or better. So with all that being said, there is a message. As I mentioned, I see this individual, and I walk into the store. You know, I'm happy. I'm on cloud now. My Cowboys just won. It was a nail biter, you know, but we got the job done. I'm coming out of the store. I see somebody, I see the same individual, but he's close. He's like, what's up? I'm just thinking that he's probably going to ask for some money, because typically when you know, people hanging out in front of the stores, at least where I'm from anyway, every store you go to is, hey, man, can I talk to you, man? Can I holler at you? Man, can you spare $2? Every store is ridiculous. So the closer that he gets, I recognize, man, that's Darius. I haven't seen Darius. I went to high school with Darius. Now, Darius was a couple years older than me. But I went to high school with Darius, and I hadn't seen him since. It's been many, many years since I was in high school. So we chopped it up, and we talked, you know, for about 5 or 10 minutes. Now, let me give you all a backstory on this whole situation with Darius. So we're going to have to rewind all the way back in the time. We got to do a double rewind. That's how far back that we go. Now, when I say we go, it's not as though we were best of friends or anything like that, but we have always known each other, and I've always known of him. See, Darius was a star basketball player. Actually, he played all 3 sports: baseball, basketball, and football. But basketball and baseball was really, really his sports, because football, once he got to high school, the fear of him getting injured, he never played football, but he could have been a heck of a quarterback. Darius was about 6'6", black dude, darker black dude, short hair. He used to wear like the bald fade. Man, he had to have weighed 6'6". He had to have weighed every bit of 225, 230, 240. Not really too good with weight, but he was just physically gifted. Just had good genes. And it's crazy because as far back as I can remember, Darius was always the same height. So when I first met Darius playing in the basketball league, I think it was like All-Stars or something like that. Here I am, I'm like 5'8". You know, 5'8" at the time when I first met him, and Darius was every bit of 6'4". Just, some people just have the gift. Some people just, you know, were born with it. Even though he was a couple years older than me, this dude was a physical specimen. As one would imagine, he's dominating everybody. Heck, he's taller, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's more physical than everybody. You would hear Darius's name, you know, throughout the whole city knew who Darius was. Made his way to middle school, which back then it was called junior high, 7th and 8th grade. And then you went to high school, which is 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Now I think it's like middle school, and it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It's something like that. But nevertheless, he dominated on the middle school or the junior high circuit. I'm talking about Darius is averaging probably 40 points a game. His team that he played for, they never lost a game. In junior high, never lost a game. Won the city championship 2 years in a row. So obviously, once he makes it to high school, and actually, let me take that back. Back then, junior high was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And then high school was 10, 11, and 12. So once he came to high school as a 10th grader, obviously he started. He was straight dominant. He was just dominating. I want to say as a sophomore, he came in averaging probably 25 a game. He's all city, all state, all world. Comes back again as a junior. Does the same thing again. Now he's probably averaging about 30, 35. He's going into his senior year. Every school wanted him. He's, like I said, he's about 6'6" at this point. Every school was looking at him. He had his choice of schools of which ones he wanted to go to. He was also a heck of a baseball player. He was a pitcher, and he could hit. He barely even came to any of the baseball games. I want to say my junior year, because I played on a baseball team. He barely came to maybe half the games and still hit 8 or 9 home runs. Like, the dude was just a gifted athlete. As I mentioned, every school in America wanted him. I didn't get permission to tell this story from him or his family, so I can't really go into all the intricate details as far as what school that he went to and things of that nature. Hopefully, I'll be able to get him on my platform one day, and we can discuss this and he can tell his own story. So I won't say which school that he ended up going to, but understand that he had his choice, and he went to a prominent, well-known Division I college, in which he decided to just concentrate on basketball. A lot of people thought that he should have been playing football all along, but in hindsight, it's 2020. He should have been playing baseball, but basketball was just where it was at. He was just dominant. He came in as a freshman. I don't believe he started as a freshman. Now, at the school he went to was a very, very competitive school. It's very difficult to come in and start as a freshman, but he played a lot. In fact, I believe that he ended up getting 6th Man of the Year, and I believe he got Freshman of the Year. And if he didn't get both, he was runner-up in one of them. He got one of them, definitely. So if he didn't get both of them, the other one, he was a runner-up. Everything was going well. You just knew from a young age that Darius was going to end up in the NBA. It was a no-brainer. No questions asked. You come in as a freshman, as a top 10 D1 college basketball school, and you putting up 12, 13 points a game, yeah, you definitely on your way. As I mentioned, he makes it through his entire freshman year. Comes back for a sophomore year. I would often see Darius in the city, during the summer break or what have you. He would come home a lot. But all he wanted to do was play basketball. That's all you ever seen him do. He didn't really party. He didn't club or anything like that. Basketball was his forte. That was his passion, his love. Darius came up in poverty. They came up in the projects. As so many of us do. The youth, we just, the inner city, you just don't have a lot of money coming up. Darius never had to work a job at that point. He was so gifted in sports, people were like kind of taking care of him at a young age. He never had to pay any league fees, never had to pay any travel expenses. No, because coaches wanted him on the team. So guess what? We're going to take care of all of this. In school, you want the Jordans, you want the best of, clothes or whatever. He got, because he was a star athlete. Now, he wasn't one of those players to where they were giving him. Now, I think a couple times in junior high, maybe teachers probably passed him when, perhaps he shouldn't have passed. But he wasn't one of those individuals that wasn't going to school and wasn't going to class. He would come to school, go to class, attempt, he'd do his work. But you can imagine that if people are telling you that you're going to the NBA at the early age of 10, 11 years old, at some point it probably goes to your head. Y'all rock with me, man. I'll take my little drink. Hey, Y'all let me know where you're chiming in from. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky, man. Jump in the comments. Let me know if you're rocking with Kens. And let me know where you're chiming in from. Come on, Kens, man. Why you take so long with the stories? Because all the truck drivers, all the people working in 12 and 16-hour shifts, 8-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, they say that my videos really, really help them to get through their shifts. There's no rush. Shout out to all my truck drivers. Shout out to all the people that just working and striving and just doing what you got to do on an everyday basis to make it in life and to be better, just to get by, man. Shout out to you. Now, let's get back to Darius. As I said, Darius would come home. You would see him hooping. All he ever did, hoop. He goes back for his sophomore year. It's supposed to be a big year for him. He's been in the system for an entire year. The individual that was playing ahead of him, he gone on to the NBA. So now it's time for Darius to really, really get his shine on. He done worked on his game. I mean, I'm talking about the whole offseason. He worked hard on his game, man. They were saying, you know, he was 6'6", but it was, okay, you get to the NBA, 6'6" is not exactly, it's not little, but it's not exactly, you know, tall. Not tall. So he's working on his game. He's learning how to really, really utilize his left hand, which he always could, but he really worked on his left hand. He really worked on his jump shot, his mid-range, everything. He was just becoming a total package. Pause. As far as an all-around basketball player. Learning to move his feet on defense more. Yeah, he wanted it. He really, really wanted it. School has started. You know, school usually starts, what, in like August, I believe? School has started. Typically don't start basketball practice until, October. But the team is already working out, you know, lifting weights. Like I said, he was a physical specimen already, and he had, you know, started lifting weights, getting his body together and everything. So, really, really dedicated individual. They go out one night as a team. They go to a club. Darius typically, as I mentioned, he didn't really go out. All he wanted to, he was like Kobe Bryant as far as the work. All he wanted to do was play basketball. They would have to, from what I hear, they would have to drag him out of the gym, literally. Because even after practice, even after a game, he just wanted to go and work on his game. That's all that he wanted to do. That's it. He wanted to get his family. He wanted to get his mother, you know, his sisters, his brothers out of poverty. There was like 4 of them. He's trying to get them out of poverty. As I mentioned, he came up in the projects, man. They go out to a club one night. He really doesn't want to go. Come on, bro. You never go with us, man. You see what I'm saying? You never go with us, dog. Come kick it with your team or whatever. Darius decides to go out for a little bit. Although he'd rather be in the gym, he decides to go out with his teammates. They go out to the club. Of course, everybody is you know, catering to the basketball players. You see what I'm saying? On a Division I, highly ranked team, they're being catered to. You always got your haters, man. This is the danger in having a name. This is the danger of as far as being recognized. Yeah, you're gonna have people that show you a whole lot of love. Hey, how you doing, Darius? How you doing? But you always gonna have some haters in the cut. It's just like, man, look at them. They think they all that, man. They ain't nothing. They think they getting some money. We getting some money too. Now, maybe not, you know, basketball players as far as they're still in college, but just in general, if it's a celebrity, oh, they think they getting some money. Let me show them, man. We you know, we pop bottles over. We make it rain over here too. Altercation breaks out. Altercation breaks out, man. It's a outright just war, a rumble. They fighting, man. Dudes is fighting, man. You know, Darius is there with his teammates. As I mentioned, he's a 6'6". He's brute. He's kind of a gorilla, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. Was I there? No. Have I gotten a story from him and other people? Yes. He knocking dudes out, man. But he's not trying to cause trouble. It's just people's running up on him. He's defending himself. One of the dudes ends up with a razor, slices him. Yak! Slices him, catches him in his neck. Could have been very, very vital. I guess the momentum and the adrenaline, if you will, was so high at that point. I guess he didn't really feel as though, he didn't feel that he had just been sliced. Now, obviously, he didn't get sliced tremendously, because if he did, then somebody cuts your neck, you're going to know that. 2, 3 dudes jumped on him or whatever. He's fighting, but he can't fight them all off. He grabs a bottle, champagne bottle, bam! Smacks somebody up top, upside the head with a bottle. Another dude runs over, he smacks him upside the head with a bottle just as well. Police is called. Of course, everybody runs. There's gunshots in the air. Nobody gets hit, but there's it's guerrilla warfare. There's guns, there's knives, there's blood, there's bottles, there's women is running around. Dudes is trying to, it's just an environment that wasn't the safest environment to be in, especially for nobody. And nobody's better than anybody, but especially for an individual that has a future. You're in college, and you don't want to find yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time. With this particular night, a morning, shall I say, Darius found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. Obviously, you have videos. You have witnesses. You have people. The individual that he ended up hitting with the bottle passed away. It's a problem. It's a big problem. A small problem has become a large problem. And actually, I don't even know if you can actually call it a small problem initially, because it's never good when something like this occurs. The dude that he hit upside of the head, the first dude that he hit with the bottle, the champagne bottle, he passes away. They're investigating. Now, the crazy part is, those basketball players, a lot of them shouldn't even have been in the club. At this point, this was Darius' sophomore year. He's 20. I don't even know if he was 20 yet. 19, going on 20. Let's just say he was 20. Got to be 21 years old to enter the clubs. In Kentucky, anyway. Now, although he went to school outside of Kentucky, it was just right across the bridge. And I'm probably giving a little bit too much information, but you just cross the bridge and boom, you're in Kentucky. Police is doing the research. They're investigating. They come back and charge 3 or 4 of the players. Darius being one of them. Manslaughter. Not murder, manslaughter. Difference between manslaughter and murder. Murder carried in Kentucky is 20 to life. Manslaughter, depending on if it's man 1 or man 2, might carry 5 to 10, or it may carry 10 to 20. Actually, it may carry 1 to 5, or it may carry 5 to 10, depending on which one that you get, charged and convicted of. Big problems. Immediately, he's suspended. Suspended from the basketball team. They got him out of jail. He's arrested. They get him out of jail. They get him a lawyer. They didn't just leave him out to dry. Why? Because he's a basketball player he's an athlete that had a lot of talent. Now, let him just been, any your average Joe, he probably would have been left out to dry. See, the thing about life, you can get away with certain things in life if you bring more to the table. So if it had been this individual that never gets in the game, he's just barely even on the team. He's just on the team because the coach likes his attitude and he makes everybody better. And, he probably would have been left out to dry. But this individual right here, he's going to be a star. Sophomore year, he's going to be that guy. And I can't just say solely because of that, but upon looking at the videos and hearing statements, and this was self-defense. How could you possibly leave somebody out to dry that was just never gets into any trouble? He's never been arrested a day in his life. It's self-defense. Defending themselves against these goons, these gorillas that was jealous of these individuals because all the girls was looking at them. Y'all rock with me, man. Rock with me. Court proceedings is going on. As I mentioned, he's out on bond. He's continued to just work on his game. All he's in the gym. Still doesn't have a job. In the gym. In the gym. In the gym. It's all he's doing. Working on his game. Prosecution, man, relentless. That's what I say when I talk about these prosecutors. They're relentless. So when you have an individual like R. Kelly, when you have an individual like Bill Cosby, when you have an individual like Michael Jackson, when you have an individual like Michael Vick, when you have an individual like P. Diddy, shall I go on? These individuals all have one thing in common, and I'll let you all figure out what it is. It's not too hard to figure out. You have prosecutors that when a case comes across their desk, a potential case, and it's the bigger their name, the harder they're going to work and prosecute. You got Darius, NBA prospect, Division I college basketball star, unalives an individual in a nightclub. Gives them an opportunity to really, really take their career to new heights. Yeah, that's the prosecutor that prosecuted this case, and yeah, he's, no tolerance, and see where I'm going with it? They didn't want to cut Darius a break whatsoever. The whole thing was self-defense. His lawyers is aiming to have it dismissed. They want to give him a plea deal for a felony assault charge. Why would I take a plea deal for a felony assault when I was doing this to defend myself? Well, the prosecution came up with something basically saying that he didn't have to hit him with the bottle. He kind of initiated it because there was space in between them, and it's not like the dude ran up on Darius and then he hit him. Darius kind of charged him. So basically they were saying that although the fight was initiated by these other individuals, by these goons, that Darius he didn't have to do what he did. They take it all the way to the box. They take it to trial. Got a jury, 12 people, 12 white people. Nothing against white people. I love my white people. I love everybody. I don't have a problem with anybody. But I got to call a spade, and that's just what it was. It was 12 white jurors, black man on trial, black kid on trial. Prosecution did everything that they could possibly do to get the black people off the jury, because that's typically what they do. They say blacks are more sympathetic and empathetic towards other blacks, so they never want, if a black person is on trial, they don't want black jurors. It's a fact. Look it up. Come on, kids. There you go with the race stuff. I'm not going with this. It's the fact, man. It's a fact. Big facts. He goes to trial. Everybody's just knowing the courtroom is full. His family's there. The team is there. He has people that are really in the community, has been writing letters, supporting, and guilty. Not guilty of manslaughter, but guilty of lesser included offense of assault under, I believe it's extreme emotional duress. Nobody can believe it. They take him into custody immediately. A lot of times when you go to trial or you take a plea deal and you're found guilty, or, you plead guilty or what have you, they'll let you stay out for 30 days, about a month. And then you come back for final sentencing, because when you come back for final sentencing, the judge this is in Kentucky, a judge has the option of giving you probation or allowing you, or sending you on up the river, sending you on up the road. Not this day. Immediately take him right into custody. So now he's in jail, never been in jail before. Yes, he initially got arrested, but he got out maybe the next day. Now he's sitting in jail for 36, 37 days, waiting for final sentencing. Once again, the courtroom is full. You got the cameras there, the media's there. Family support, everybody's there. But on the flip side, you have these other individuals The individual that lost his life, his family's there. His representatives are there. They're suing the school. They're suing. Now, they were the ones that initiated, allegedly, I got to say allegedly, this entire fight, this entire situation. They initiated it. But because they played for this major university, now they're suing the school. And my son, I'll never be able to hug and kiss and, you know, see my son again. And my son will never be able to see his kids. He's grown men, 27, 28 years old. Evidently, the judge wasn't compelled. Wasn't compelled by all the individuals that had written in letters for Darius and you know, just being there for him and representing him in a positive manner. This young man has never been in a trouble. He comes from poverty. He comes from, you know, he got 4 siblings or 3. It's 3 or 4 siblings. He's has a bright future. We stand behind him. We're going to make sure. Judge didn't care about none of that. 5 years. Hard labor. The Kentucky Department of Corrections, Penitentiary. Get on out of my courtroom, nigga. Which so often happens. It's an uproar in the courtroom. People can't believe it. The judge is threatening to arrest everybody and hold everybody in contempt. They take him back. He's sick as one could be, you know, one could expect. $20 years old. Actually, at this point, he wasn't 20. Because when the incident occurred, I want to say he was 19 going on 20. Well, at this point, it's a year and a half later. So he's 21, probably, you know, 21 and a half. Not quite 22 yet. He's in penitentiary. He had representatives. He had people that really, really cared about him. You know, that was had looked out for him, if you will, in the community over the years. So they didn't leave him out to dry, hang him out to dry. The court system did. They appealed it. Appeals don't come overnight. Appeals will take years. It may take you 5 or 6 years, 3, 4, 5 years just to get, you know, back into court, if you're even granted an opportunity to get back into court. Five years, do 12 months, and I have an opportunity to go up for parole. Gets out, he'll be about 20, he'll still be 22 and a half, he'll still have his youth, if he'll get out, you know, within the first year or so. Or during a year. Because in Kentucky, you do 20% of your time when you're incarcerated. Unless you have a violent offense, in which you'll do 85% of your time. He'll still have an opportunity. He does the year. No write-ups. Takes the little classes that, you know, they tell him to take. They recommend that he takes. But all he did was hoop. See, in prison, especially back then, now they make you have a job or go to school, some prisons. But back then, the early 2000s, you didn't have to have a job. You didn't have to go to school. So you got guys that get up, the gym open, the yard are open at probably about, depending on where you at, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. The gym is open. You got guys that go work out in the morning, go get their, you know, workout on. Then they'll come back in the afternoon and hoop 3 or 4 hours. Then the yard, you know, shuts down. You got to go eat, and shift change and all of those things count. Then you come back in the evening at about 6:15, 6:30. Yard opens up again for another few hours. Gym's open again. So you got individuals that all they do is hoop. You got some of the best athletes in prison. Super athletes. I'm talking about super athletes in prison, man. You got some of the, oh man, high flying 360 between the legs, behind the back, throwing it off the wall, throwing it off the glass, man. You got some athletes in prison like you never seen before. They say that the best athletes or the best players As far as basketball's in the NBA, no. The best players is in the penitentiary. You got some gorillas. When I say gorillas, meaning on that court, they beast, man. Absolute beast. They just made a mistake, or they just was in the street life and didn't take advantage of the God-given talent that they were granted. But you see some hella fat athletes. And anybody that's been incarcerated and you know you've been to prison, if you don't care to let it be known, jump in the comment section and validate what I'm saying. You got some athletes in the pen, man, that's crazy. Crazy, crazy. Not just crazy, but crazy, crazy. He's dogging all of them. Y'all can't fool with me. He's dogging everybody. Think about prison. Once you go to prison, the first thing people ask you, especially if you got some height on you, hoop? Yeah. Come on. Well, obviously everybody already knew who he was. But when you go to prison, man, if you can hoop, that's a great way to keep you out of the mix. Well, Kens, you've already said stay off the basketball court. Yeah, stay off the basketball court. But I'm saying if you're a hooper, like a real live hooper, and you go in there and you got some height, you know, 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", 6'4", 5'11", even 5'11". Yeah, 5'11". And they know you can hoop, or you tell them you can hoop, and you go out there and you prove yourself, typically you're going to be able to stay away from the foolery. All you do is just hoop all day long. Hoop and work out. Hoop, work out, eat. If you got some money being sent to you, you eat your Jack Mac, your proteins, your peanut butters, your, you know, not really going to the chow hall too often, because at chow hall, they just feed you garbage. And that's where you spend the majority of your time, on the basketball court. And that's what Darius did. He does a year, goes up for parole. Once again, the parole board, they weren't compelled. Like the judge wasn't compelled. They give him a 12-month setback, a 12-month deferment. Come back and see us in 12 months. They appeal it. You can appeal your parole decision all you want. If you don't have a valid reason to show that the parole board acted inappropriately, or, you know, there's newly discovered evidence, or, you know, it doesn't matter. So they give him another 12 months. You can kill out a 5-year sentence in penitentiary back then anyway in 36 months. It took 36 months and you'll be able to completely serve out a 5-year sentence. He did the other year, doing the same thing, taking classes, staying out of the way, and just hooping. Getting in shape. He really getting in shape at this point, because he's more and more motivated. Parole board gives him parole. It's a joyous day. It's a beautiful thing. Although he never should have been incarcerated, it is what it is. He still has people that's around him, that's supporting him, that's, you know, still trying to help him achieve his dreams. He's released from prison on parole. Has to stay on parole for 3 years. Back then, you had to stay on parole till your maximum date. Meaning that if you had a 5-year sentence, you did 2 years. So basically, that means you have to do another 3 years and then you're done with parole. Now, it's not like that. You stay on parole till your minimum date. So your minimum date on a 5-year sentence, and if you've done 2 years, you might have to stay on parole maybe another 6 months, no more than a year. Then you're done. Things have totally changed. He comes home at this point. I want to say he's, what I say, the case took about 18 months. He was already 20, 21 and a half. So now, he's like 23 years old. 23 years old. It's kind of getting up there in age. He still has his youth, but it's still kind of, you know, 23 years old to be in the NBA is young, but at 23 years old to be in college, it's kind of old. People around him, people representing him, people looking out for him. They get him in a JUCO, junior college. I think it's like in Kansas City somewhere. He's not 24. He's still 23. He goes out to Kansas City, junior college. He shows out. 26, 27 points a game. He never lost a step. Kept working on his game in Penitentiary. He had, trainers and things of that nature that was telling him what to do, exercises and, things like that. The unique part about it was when he was in prison, and I've seen this before. I've definitely seen this. You have a basketball team, right? And they do this with softball as well. Y'all remember the movie The Longest Yard? With Adam Sandler and Chris Rock and... Well, they had a prison football team. And they would play against like the COs, correction officers. That's actually accurate as far as basketball and softball. Never really seen a football team in prison. I'd imagine that some states, I don't know if they have them now, but I would imagine that some states at some point had them. But nevertheless, you have basketball. You have varsity, and then you have junior varsity, or the A team or the B team. If you're on the A team, you the upper echelon, top tier. You have other schools that come in. Smaller schools, junior colleges, NAIA, Division III schools, they'll come in and play you. Churches, recreational leagues. All of that is set up within the prison. Well, they set it up to where these teams could travel. So if you was on the travel team, you could go out into the community and go to other places and play. So you may go to another church, you may go to another school, but you have to fit the criteria. You have to have a certain custody level. Your custody level, you can't have a life sentence and be traveling. You can't have 40, 50 years, 30 years, and you got to do 85%. So if the teams came to you in prison, yeah, you could play because you're not going anywhere. But if you all were going to another college to play, they're going to take an individual from the B team, junior varsity, and put them in your place because they can travel, because their custody level is low. Darius was able to travel. He had scouts coming to the games. Scouts came to the prison to watch him play. Killing it. He would play softball, man, hit the ball so far over the fence. Scouts was coming to watch him play softball. He was only a few years removed from baseball. Baseball is one of those sports you might not play for 3 or 4 years and you can get back in it. Literally had scouts coming to the penitentiary to watch him play, man. I was going to say football. And if he played football, if they had a football team, they would have been doing the same thing. Basketball and softball, they were literally coming to watch him play. As I mentioned, he goes to school. Kansas City somewhere, he averages 26, 27 points a game, whatever it was that he averaged. He's back on the circuit. Well, at this point, he's 24. Still relatively young. Still has 2 more years of college eligibility. Problem is the big schools are not coming along. They're not calling the way that they once were. And his phone's not ringing like that. Yeah, you got smaller schools calling. That's cool, but I don't want to go Division II, Division III, NAIA. I'm Division I, man. NBA's not calling. He ends up going to a smaller school. Very, very successful. They won the championship, I believe, I don't know if it was his junior year or his senior year, but one of those years, let's just say it was his senior year. They won the championship. He's still who he is. He's averaging 26, 27, 25 points a game. Nobody's looking at him. Nobody's checking for him. Can't get an NBA tryout, NBA invite, anything. He's 26 years old. The one thing that he had in his favor early on was youth. although 26 is young to the rest of the world, but in sports, 26 years old is starting to kind of, you know, as weird as it sounds, it's starting to kind of get up there a little bit. Especially to be a rookie. If you're 26, you've been in the league 4 or 5 years, it's different. Phone's not ringing. He has an agent. They end up getting him a deal like in Turkey or somewhere. Really doesn't want to go, but he goes over in Turkey and plays. You know, they convince him, hey, listen, man, you shine over here. We may be able to get you, you know, to the CBA, because it's the G League now, but back then it was called the CBA. And then, you know, you're just going to have to take it, you know, you're going to have to get out of the mud, basically. He never had to get it out of the mud before. He was always catered to. He was always, you know, he was always that man, that guy. Now you're going to have to get it out of the mud if you really want it. He goes over to Turkey, he plays. Barely getting paid anything at all. He's shining over there, but he doesn't like it. Nobody speaks English. The food is half cooked. No disrespect to the people in Turkey, but I think they kind of eat their food a little differently, which is, you know, no problem. But I'm just simply giving you all, outlining the things that, you know, he detailed. He didn't want to go back, but he goes back for a second season. Goes back to Turkey, dominates again. Team does fairly well. They didn't win the championship, but, you know, they're doing fairly well. Now he's 28 years old. Still hasn't gotten that call. He ends up going back to Turkey for the 3rd year. He's close. He's on the verge of getting a tryout with the CBA. You know, you got agents. Your agents work for you. You play basketball, and I'm going to work for you over. I'm going to handle the administrative side. Another disappointment. It didn't happen. After his 3rd year in Turkey, 29 years old, I can't even get a tryout with the CBA. Let alone, how am I going to get to the NBA when the CBA won't even fool with me? He doesn't return to Turkey for his 4th year. He's only making $40,000, $50,000 a year. That ain't really no money, you know, in comparison to what they make in the NBA. He misses his family. He misses his culture. He's not trying to go back to Turkey. Although his agent was telling him, hang in there, I'm going to get you something. He was not trying to go back to Turkey. So what does he do? He returns home. Now Darius has to return home as a normal individual. He, like I said, he's only making $40,000, $45,000, $50,000 a year. It's not like he has, you know, an astronomical amount of money. The money that he is making, he's sending home and helping his family out and things of that nature. So when he comes home, what's he got? $20,000, $30,000 saved up? How long is $20,000, $30,000? How far does that get you? When you come home, you don't have a crib. You don't have a car. You don't have anything. Come home. Gets him a job. Gets him a job at like a factory or somewhere. 29 years old. He's still playing in little recreational basketball leagues and things of that nature. But at 29, and you don't want to go back to Turkey, it's over. He's, you know, he stays in shape, keeps himself in shape. But it's pretty much over. He's walked down his parole, meaning that he's completed his parole, so he's not dealing with the Kentucky Department of Corrections anymore at that point. Job's not paying much. Has a kid on the way. Catches a case. Jumps in the game for a couple years. He's not even a high-level dealer. He's just, you know, jumping in the game, making $1,000 a week, $800 a week, $1,200, $1,500 a week, you know, just to get by with his job. Gets caught up trafficking. Hit him on a trafficking charge. Trafficking a controlled substance. At this point, he's about 32. Goes through the entire court process. He makes bond and things of that nature. But it's a big difference from the first time, because the first time he had a whole lot of support. He had people that was there for him, writing him letters, doing this and doing it. This time, those people weren't there anymore. He's 32 years old. can't offer him anything anymore. You don't have that potential, that upside that you had, 15 years ago. 13 years ago, however many years, several years ago. He goes through the process. They give him probation. 5 for 5. Stay on probation for 5 years. If you mess up, you go and do 5 years. Cool. No problem. Stays on probation and maybe about 3 years. These numbers are not exactly to the science, but it's close. Stay on probation for about 3.5 years. Actually, it was 4 years, to be honest. Doing everything you're supposed to do, working, passing your drug test, doing everything that you're supposed to do. You're about 36, 37 years old. You got 1 more year left of probation. And you're done with the Department of Corrections. You don't have to deal with them anymore. Rock with me. He's out one night. He's out one night and he's visiting, a young lady that he met or what have you. Had a little bit too much to drink. Partied a little bit too much. He's on his way home. He's at the stoplight. You ever run into a light that just takes a long time? Especially like 2 or 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just a light that just takes a long time and it won't turn. It won't change. You don't want to run the light because you don't know where the police is at. So you just sit there and you just waiting and you just waiting and you just waiting and boom, you pass out. Darius passes out at the stoplight. When he's passed out on the stoplight, he's on the steering wheel. So the horn is... I guess somebody called. Hey, there's a guy, or there's an individual. He had a minivan. The individual that's at the stoplight and it appears to be injured or asleep or I don't know. Call the police. Police come. They wake him up. Clearly he's drunk. Under the influence. He gets arrested. DUI. Still on probation. Had about 1 year left to complete probation. DUI, like I said, that will send you straight back to prison. Will send you straight to prison. DUIs and assault charges. They search the vehicle. Oh. Now, officers, they favorite thing. What do we have here? Found a little 22. Felon in possession of a handgun while on probation. Taken to jail. The minivan's impounded. He didn't have any drugs or anything like that on him, but he did have this 22. He goes to jail. Ends up getting out on bond. Don't know how he got out on bond, but he ends up getting out on bond. He's out. His next court date, well, he goes to court a couple times. As he's leaving the courtroom, he leaves out of the courtroom. Some guys in suits that were standing outside. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. U.S. Marshals. I don't know if they were U.S. Marshals, but it was the feds. The feds picked up the case. I guess U.S. Marshals wouldn't come dressed with suits on. The feds end up picking the case up. Felon in possession of a handgun. The feds use a different a point system as far as how they sentence you. They're going to go on your priors, convictions, arrests, charges, everything. He ends up with 8 years in the feds. That's an odd number, but he ends up with 8 years in the feds. In which he has to end up doing about 6 of those years, close to it. And once he does the 6 years, at this point he's 41. 42. Once he does the 6 years, he has to still go to the state because he's on probation. Remember I said he had a year left. At 5 years. He goes to the state. They want some time too. Oh, we want some of our time. They make him do like 18 months. So he does 6 in the feds. A little bit less than 6, but let's just say 6. 18 months in the state. So it's 7.5 years that he did. And then he comes home. He deals with depression. He's dealing with all the things that he could have been, what should have been. All the people that try to help him, the disappointment, all the people that he feel as though he let down. And he sinks into a deep depression. Starts to hit the bottle, just drinking. Not using any drugs or anything, not to my nature, but just drinking and drinking. He stays out of the way long enough to where he walks down his probation. He walks down his parole. When I say walks down, means he completed it. He was done with it. Because in the feds, even though you do your sentence, you got 8 years and you do 6, you still have what's called basically you still have to come home and be on probation for 3 years, 2 years, 5 years post-release. Nobody ever sees him. He's dipped off into seclusion, if you will. Hadn't seen him in years. And so when I seen him at this gas station the other night, yesterday actually, last night to be exact, go Cowboys. And we sit there and we talk, man, I just feel so bad for him. I feel so bad for him because he doesn't even look himself. He looks, obviously he's older, but he looks older. He kind of walks with a slump. He's slumped over a little bit, like he has back problems. The 235, 240 that he once was, he might not even be 190 now. Maybe 200 because of his height. And he's just not the same individual. And nobody is once, time elapses, But it's just kind of like, bro, this is crazy. And what really, really almost brought me to a tear, he said, hey, bro, you got $2, man? So I'm just trying to get me a beer, man. You got $2? I don't know if he was out in front of the store panhandling, but one would believe that he was, because if you standing out in front of the store, I went in, you was out there, which I didn't know who you were at the time, but when I come back out, you're still standing in front of the store. So one would assume that you were panhandling, man, and asked me for $2 to get a beer. Of course, I gave him some money. I give people money all the time. What you do with your money when I give it to you, it's on you. It's not up to me. I give from the heart. What you do with it is what you do with it. I gave him the money. I gave him more than $2. Gave him the money. Gave him that, man. Stay up, my dog. Be safe out here, man. I got in the car and drove off, man. It was a sad story. The youth need to hear stuff like this. A lot of times when you're younger, you feel as though, oh, man, I'm young, man. I ain't, I'm 22 years old. Man, you look up, if you're blessed, if you're fortunate, especially if you live in that life. You don't believe that song. Niggas wrong. Gangsters don't live that long. Yeah, Scarface once said it. Gangsters don't live that long. Believe that song all you want. You look up, you'll be 30. You look up and you'll be 40. You look up and you'll be 50. And that's if you're blessed enough to be able to see those years. That's if you're blessed enough. And 9 times out of 10, if you live in that life, you see those years, you're going to see them in penitentiary. So although he did his time in the pen and he was able to avoid going back to prison, look at what he had to endure. Self-inflicted. Look at everything that I can't necessarily call it self-inflicted, though. I can't. I'm a big individual as far as accountability. If you do something, you must accept the consequences of it. I get it. But I feel as though he was defending himself initially. But the things after that, it has to kind of be on him. And I'm sure that the drinking, he's thinking back to what he could have been. That's one of the biggest things, the biggest hurdles, obstacles to get over in life. Thinking about what could have been, what you should have been. It's hard to deal with sometimes. Sometimes it'll drive you to drinking. It'll drive you to using drugs. It'll drive you to jumping off that bridge like I was once contemplating doing. But you got to find your higher power and understand that, you know, perhaps my life was meant for something else. God don't make no mistakes. But we all have free will. And we must make the best of decisions that we can make. And especially when we have a situation such as Darius had his whole career, a whole athletic career ahead of him. The streets won, as they typically do. The streets will always win. The streets are undefeated. Shout out to Darius, his family. I'm going to do my best to bring him on if he cares to do so. He may not care to do so. I don't know. But I'm going to do my best to bring him on and allow him to explain his story to you all in his words. Real Kens TV. Hopefully you liked the video. Feel free to comment, definitely share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive, man. Once again, man, shout out to Darius, man. Real Kens.